Every night while you sleep, your muscles are doing something you might not expect. They're shrinking. This isn't a scare tactic. It's a biological fact. During sleep, particularly when you're fasting overnight, your body enters a mild catabolic state. That means it starts breaking down muscle tissue for energy. And if you're over 50, this process accelerates dramatically due to a natural decline in anabolic hormones like growth hormone, testosterone, and insulin-like growth factor 1, IGF-1. But here's the surprising insight. There's one specific behavior you can do before bed that's been shown to drastically reduce this muscle breakdown and even help you build strength while you sleep. It's not a supplement, it's not a workout, and it's not something you'll hear talked about on most fitness podcasts. It's something so simple, so low effort, that once you understand the science, you'll wonder why it isn't already a nightly ritual. What we're talking about today is one of the most overlooked tools in the science of muscle preservation, especially for older adults, night shift workers, and high performers alike. It taps into a powerful mechanism in your physiology, muscle protein synthesis during sleep. And the tool we'll cover today, backed by multiple randomized controlled trials, helps flip the switch from muscle breakdown to muscle preservation, even while you're not moving. But this goes beyond just looking fit. Muscle mass is a predictor of healthy aging, cognitive performance, and even emotional resilience. Losing muscle, particularly after age 60, is tied to frailty, insulin resistance, poor sleep, and increased risk of depression. So what you do before bed matters deeply. In this episode, I'll walk you through 6 powerful science-backed insights that explain why overnight muscle loss happens, the brain-body connection behind it, what a single pre-bed protocol can do to reverse it, and exactly how to implement that protocol starting tonight. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear, proven, and easy to apply strategy that helps preserve lean muscle, protect strength, and keep your body in an anabolic, not catabolic state during the 6 to 8 hours you're asleep. Let's get into the science. Let's begin with a concept that surprises most people. Sleep can trigger muscle loss. This seems counterintuitive, right? Sleep is when the body heals, repairs, regenerates, and that's true, especially for the brain, immune system, and cardiovascular function. But when it comes to skeletal muscle, things get more complicated. Here's what the research shows. When you go to bed, your body enters a natural fasting state, typically 8 hours without food. During this time, there's a shift in your hormonal environment. Insulin levels drop. Cortisol, a catabolic hormone, tends to rise toward the early morning. And unless you've supplied your body with sufficient amino acids before bed, it starts breaking down muscle protein to access what it needs. This process is called nocturnal muscle catabolism, and it's been well documented in both young and older adults. In one landmark study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, researchers found that overnight fasting leads to a net negative protein balance, meaning muscle breakdown exceeds synthesis, unless protein is consumed before bed. Grown et al. 2012. Think of your muscle tissue like a savings account. During the day, especially after exercise or meals, you're making deposits. But at night, unless you've made a strategic deposit before bed, the body starts making withdrawals. And for people over the age of 50, this becomes even more problematic. Why? Because of something called anabolic resistance. As we age, the body becomes less efficient at using dietary protein to build and maintain muscle. That means you need not only more high-quality protein throughout the day, but also better timing, especially around sleep. So if you're someone who skips dinner, eats an early light meal, or avoids food before bed due to outdated diet rules, you could be accelerating muscle loss, even if you exercise. But let's take a moment to zoom out. Why does this matter so much? Muscle isn't just about strength or aesthetics. It's a metabolic organ. It regulates glucose, supports joint health, aids in recovery, and even buffers inflammation. Loss of muscle mass is linked to insulin resistance, falls, cognitive decline, and reduced life expectancy. And this loss doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen every night if your body doesn't have the raw material it needs. Now, some people might wonder, won't eating before bed mess with my sleep? It depends on what you eat and how much. In fact, as we'll explore later, the right kind of pre-bed nutrition can actually improve sleep quality by supporting serotonin and melatonin production and reducing overnight cortisol. So here's a simple principle to remember. If you go to bed without supplying your muscles, your body will break them down to supply itself. That's the catabolic cost of sleep. But the good news is there's a flip side. Your body is also primed hormonally to build and repair muscle while you sleep. You just need to create the right internal environment. And one key to that is giving it what it needs before you close your eyes. In the next section, we'll explore how sleep, with the right priming, becomes not just a passive state, but a powerful anabolic window for growth and regeneration. But first, if this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. This channel is all about science-based tools to optimize your body, brain, and performance, and there's more ahead. Let's reframe the way we think about sleep. Yes, it's rest. Yes, it's repair. But it's also one of the most hormonally anabolic phases of the day, meaning it's when your body is actually wired to build. The key lies in understanding what happens hormonally during sleep and how you can leverage it to preserve or even grow muscle. Here's what the research shows. During deep non-REM sleep, particularly in the first half of the night, your body releases a pulse of growth hormone, GH. This is one of the most powerful anabolic hormones we produce. It stimulates tissue repair, muscle regeneration, and fat metabolism. Growth hormone doesn't work alone. It's followed by increases in IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, which facilitates the actual growth and repair of muscle fibers. This entire process is essential for maintaining lean mass, especially as we age when growth hormone naturally declines. Now, here's where the opportunity opens up. If you provide your body with amino acids right before this hormonal cascade begins, you can amplify its effects. Think of it like lighting a fire. Growth hormone is the spark, but amino acids from protein are the fuel. Without the fuel, the spark fizzles. But with it, you create an internal environment primed for growth and preservation. This is what researchers call a nutrient hormone synergy. One study published in Frontiers in Nutrition, Tremelin et al., 2016, demonstrated that when participants consumed 30-40 grams of slow digesting protein before bed, muscle protein synthesis was significantly increased during sleep compared to when no protein was consumed. And this wasn't in bodybuilders or athletes, it was in average adults. And the benefits were even greater in older populations who often experience anabolic resistance. This means that the pre-sleep period, once thought to be off limits for eating, is actually a golden window. You can think of it as a second chance to feed your muscles when your body is most primed to use what you give it. This is not about eating a big meal or stuffing yourself late at night. It's about using targeted nutrition to match the body's natural hormonal rhythm. The result? Less muscle breakdown, more repair, better recovery. And it's not just about muscle. Studies also show that when you nourish your body appropriately before sleep, sleep quality improves. This is likely due to better serotonin availability, lower nocturnal cortisol, and stabilized blood sugar, all of which contribute to more restful sleep architecture. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever noticed that you sleep more deeply on nights when you have a balanced, protein-rich dinner? That's not an accident. It's biochemistry in action. Here's the takeaway. Sleep is not just downtime, it's prime time for growth. But the body can only build with what it's given. If you fast into the night, you're missing the most anabolic opportunity nature gives us every 24 hours. So rather than seeing your evening routine as the end of your effort, start seeing it as a launch pad, a strategic window where you can feed, support, and regenerate your muscles with just one smart move. In the next section, we'll break down the specific type of protein that works best for this and why it's different from the ones you might already be using. But first, if you're finding this valuable, hit the like button and subscribe. This helps more people find science-based tools that actually work. And it helps us keep delivering content that makes a difference in your life and longevity. So now that we understand that sleep is an anabolic window and that feeding your body properly before bed enhances muscle repair, the next question is, what should you actually consume? The answer, according to a growing body of research, is casein protein. Casein is one of the two main proteins found in milk, the other being whey. But unlike whey, which is fast digesting and quickly absorbed into the bloodstream, casein digests slowly, releasing amino acids over a period of 6 to 8 hours. That slow release is exactly what makes casein uniquely suited for sleep. Here's what the science says. A 2012 randomized controlled trial led by Dr. Luc van Loon at Maastricht University, a pioneer in muscle metabolism research, found that when participants consumed 40 grams of casein protein 30 minutes before sleep, their rates of overnight muscle protein synthesis increased significantly compared to a placebo group. Rez et al., Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, 2012. In other words, casein didn't just prevent muscle loss, it actively promoted muscle building while participants were asleep. And the effects weren't just in young adults. Follow-up studies showed that older adults, even those in their 60s and 70s, saw improved nitrogen balance and muscle preservation with casein intake before bed. Why does this matter? Because older individuals are more prone to overnight muscle catabolism. They're also less sensitive to smaller doses of protein during the day, meaning they need both more and better timed protein to maintain muscle mass. Okay, now let's talk practical application. Here's a simple science-backed protocol. Pre-sleep muscle protocol, 30-40 grams of micellar casein protein, taken 30 minutes before sleep, best consumed as a shake or mixed with water or milk. Why micellar casein? It's the form shown in most clinical studies, and it forms a gel-like substance in the stomach, which slows digestion and provides a steady drip of amino acids to your bloodstream all night long. This slow trickle of essential amino acids, particularly leucine, keeps muscle protein synthesis elevated and prevents the body from shifting into a catabolic state. Now, you might be wondering, what if I'm lactose intolerant or don't consume dairy? There are alternative slow digesting protein blends available. Some vegan options include pea and rice protein combinations, which, when fortified with extra leucine, can mimic the slow bleed pattern of casein. While not as extensively studied, some data shows promise. And if a shake doesn't appeal to you, whole food options like cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, especially the high casein types, or even small portion of high protein, low carb pudding made with casein powder can work just as well. But whatever you choose, the key principle is this: slow digesting, leucine-rich protein timed before bed is the cornerstone of protecting and rebuilding muscle overnight. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to insert this one scientifically proven habit consistently. And it's not about bulking. It's about function, strength, energy, physical independence, the ability to move freely, live fully, and age powerfully. If you're serious about preserving muscle, and especially if you're over 50, this one change could make a dramatic difference over the next decade of your life. In our next section, we'll explore something equally fascinating. What's happening in your brain when you consume protein before bed? Because muscle is one part of the equation, but your central nervous system plays a powerful, often overlooked role in regulating it. We've talked about muscle. Now let's talk about the command center behind it, your brain. Because what's happening in your muscles while you sleep is largely regulated by what's happening in your central nervous system. And yes, the food you eat before bed communicates directly with your brain. Let's break this down. The hypothalamus, a small but critical region of the brain, monitors nutrient availability, energy status, and circadian rhythms. It helps determine when to release growth hormone, when to activate tissue repair, and when to ramp up or down the sympathetic nervous system. When you consume a balanced, protein-rich snack before bed, you're not just feeding your muscles, you're also signaling to the brain that the body is nourished, safe, and can enter repair mode. This simple act, nutrient timing, alters neurochemical signaling in profound ways. Here's what the research shows. Amino acids from dietary protein influence several key neurotransmitters. In particular, tryptophan crosses the blood-brain barrier and helps synthesize serotonin, a calming neurotransmitter that regulates mood, sleep, and appetite. Serotonin, in turn, converts to melatonin, the hormone that governs sleep-wake cycles. Meanwhile, leucine and other branched-chain amino acids, BCAAs, influence brain energy metabolism and the regulation of mTOR, a key signaling pathway for muscle protein synthesis. So what does this mean practically? When you consume a slow digesting protein like casein before bed, you support both the hormonal repair cascade, growth hormone IGF-1, and the neurochemical architecture of deep, restful sleep. In fact, one 2020 review published in Nutrients highlighted that pre-sleep protein intake may actually enhance sleep quality by stabilizing blood glucose and promoting greater serotonin to melatonin conversion, particularly in older adults and people under stress. This is critical because poor sleep is a known trigger of muscle loss. Let that sink in. When your sleep suffers, your muscles shrink faster. And that's because sleep deprivation increases cortisol, decreases testosterone, reduces growth hormone, and impairs glucose metabolism. A perfect storm for muscle catabolism and fat gain. And the brain is constantly monitoring this hormonal landscape. If it senses stress, starvation, or imbalance, it shifts the body into a conservative catabolic mode. But when it senses nourishment, stability, and rhythmic predictability, it supports tissue repair, including muscle preservation. So here's a powerful neuroscience-based reframe. Feeding your muscles before bed is not just about nutrition. It's a signal of safety to the brain. That signal tells your nervous system, we're not in crisis, you can rest, you can repair, you can grow. Now, here's a practical tool for enhancing this effect. Evening reset ritual, 30 minutes before sleep. Dim the lights and reduce screen exposure. Prepare a 30-40 G-casein-based shake or high-protein snack. Sip it slowly while journaling, stretching, or doing a calm wind-down practice. Get into bed at the same time each night. This ritual doesn't just provide amino acids, it trains your brain to associate this pattern with recovery, calm, and growth. Over time, this becomes a neural circuit of resilience, a feedback loop of good sleep, good hormones, and strong muscles. And that's the power of aligning biology with behavior. If this kind of insight is helping you connect the dots between your brain, body, and daily habits, make sure to subscribe because this is exactly the kind of science-backed, life-enhancing content we share each week. In the next section, we'll dive into how to balance this nighttime protocol with your overall nutrition, especially if you're trying to manage weight, glucose, or inflammation. Let's address the elephant in the room. Won't eating before bed make me gain fat? This belief that late night eating always leads to weight gain is deeply ingrained. And like many health myths, it contains a grain of truth, but misses the bigger picture. The real question isn't when you eat, it's what and how much you eat and how it aligns with your body's metabolic rhythms. Let's walk through what the science actually shows. In 2020, a controlled study in the Journal of Nutrition tested the effects of consuming 40 grams of casein protein before bed on fat metabolism. The results? There was no increase in body fat over several weeks. even in sedentary individuals. In fact, sleep quality improved and morning satiety, the feeling of fullness, increased, leading participants to eat less the following day. Why? Because when you consume a slow digesting, low glycemic protein like casein before bed without excess sugar or fat, you don't spike insulin and you don't disrupt overnight fat oxidation. Instead, you stabilize your internal environment. Think of it like this. You're giving your body just enough fuel to prevent muscle breakdown without tipping into caloric excess or hormonal disruption. Use a simple rule of thumb, the 3 keys to smart nighttime fueling. Low glycemic load, avoid added sugars or refined carbs, lean protein focus, prioritize casein, Greek yogurt, or plant-based blends, portion control, 150, 250 calories total is enough for most people. Let's say your goal is to preserve muscle, sleep well, and keep your body fat steady or decreasing. Here are 3 effective bedtime snack options. Option 1, 1 scoop 30/40 G micellar casein in water or unsweetened almond milk. Option 2, 3/4 cup low-fat cottage cheese plus cinnamon. Option 3, 1/2 cup plain Greek yogurt plus scoop of casein plus a few walnuts. Each of these provides slow delivery amino acids, minimal sugar, and a calming effect on the brain without spiking insulin or interfering with melatonin production. Now let's zoom out for a moment. Chrononutrition is the science of how meal timing affects metabolism and circadian rhythms. And what researchers now know is this. It's not that eating at night is bad. It's that eating the wrong kinds of foods at night, like sugary snacks, alcohol, or heavy meals, can impair glucose metabolism, reduce sleep quality, and blunt morning insulin sensitivity. But targeted protein intake, especially casein, it actually supports glucose regulation and metabolic health. Some studies even suggest it blunts nighttime cortisol, a major win for those dealing with stress, belly fat, or sleep disruption. Here's something to reflect on. Food can either disrupt your sleep and metabolism or enhance it. It depends entirely on the kind, the dose, and the timing. So rather than fearing food after 7 p.m., use science to guide you. Your muscles don't shut down at night. Your brain doesn't stop responding to nutrients. And your metabolism doesn't store fat just because the sun went down. It's more nuanced than that and more empowering. If you consistently fuel your body in alignment with its biological rhythms, you gain control over 2 critical levers: muscle maintenance and metabolic stability. And over time, that leads to better strength, better sleep, and a leaner, healthier body. In our final core section, we'll answer an important question. What if you can't eat protein before bed due to fasting, medication, or lifestyle? We'll explore alternative tools for minimizing overnight muscle loss and optimizing recovery, even if protein isn't on the menu. Let's say you can't or prefer not to eat before bed. Maybe you follow time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting. Maybe you're taking nighttime medications that require an empty stomach. Or perhaps late eating just doesn't sit well with